Hi everyone and welcome to Stamp with Angela. I'm Angela Palmer and today I'm doing a Facebook Live and I'm going to be sharing with you some cards that feature the Wisteria Wishes stamp set and also some tips on using blending brushes, which I'll be using on this card as well. So thank you for watching me today, whether you're watching on this Facebook Live, the recording later, or as a YouTube video. So thank you for joining me today and I'm looking forward to crafting with you. The card that I'm going to share with you features the Wisteria Wishes stamp set, and it's actually what I did for coffee and cards earlier in the week at Vero Cafe, which is a class I do the first Tuesday of the month. So there's a few tips and things from this card that I thought you might like to see, so I'll share it with you today. The Wisteria Wishes stamp set includes some two-step stamping. I'll explain that as we go, and then I'm using the blending brushes for a bit of colouring as well. So let's get started. I'm going to turn my camera around and we will do some crafting. So these are some samples of the cards that I'm going to make today, and this is the Wisteria Wishes stamp set that we're going to use, and there are dies that go with this as well, which help you make some wonderful cards and things, but we're just using the stamp set today and we're going to make these cards. They are note cards, which are what I did at Coffee and Cards earlier in the week. So the note cards come in a pack of 20. I know it's hard to tell on the video, but they're a little bit smaller, but they work really well for the cards and things. All right, so I don't know if you can tell with these cards, there's subtle differences, so I'll just go over those now. And then you can see what we're doing as we're putting it together. So the basics of it is the same. I don't know if you can see the two tones in there. That's the two-step stamping. So stamping with one colour, one image, then going over the top with another. This is clean and simple, just on basic white cardstock. And I've just left the background white and then added my bow and some embellishments. On this one here, this is where the blending brushes come in. It's very subtle, but I don't know if you can see around the edge, a bit of the fresh freesia, a bit of blending. That's quite light, but you can add a bit more if you like. And on this one, it is more noticeable. Around the edges, I've gone for a bit of sponging with the green, and that's the Mossy Meadow colour. So that's just a few variations on how you can kind of do it. So what we're going to do is we'll do the stamping part first, and then I'll give you some tips on using the blending brushes. All right, so I'm going to start with a piece of cardstock, and my piece that I prepared earlier has disappeared, so I'm going to quickly cut a piece. So the size that I make for my note cards, if I want the inner piece, it's 11.8. No, yes, 11.8 by 8. And then my Mossy Meadow is slightly bigger than that. So that's going to be 8.5. And that is going to be 12.3. 12.3. 4, 3, about there. Okay. All right. So this is our piece here. So what I'm going to do is stamp the leaves first, then we'll know where to place our wisteria. So let's put those to the side. Now the stamp set is a photopolymer set. So on your rubber stamps, there's that bit of sponginess, which, you know, gives a little bit of give. On these photopolymer, there is none. So I like to use my stamping piercing mat because that gives a bit of cushioning and helps with the stamping. All right, so the colours I'm using today are Mossy Meadow for the green, Fresh Freesia, and then Highland Heather. So let's start with our Mossy Meadow, that nice sort of darker green. And now with this stamp, I've kind of had to put it on an angle on the block. Just give it a wipe so you don't see the ink on it. But we want these bits here hanging down, not kind of on an angle, otherwise our wisteria is going to kind of blow to the side. So we're wanting it kind of like that. So ink it up and to the side, fairly high up so there's enough There we go, beautiful. There's enough room for our wisteria. Now the wisteria is a stamp with all 3 in 1. And we're going to stamp that in our lighter colour first. So this is our 2-step stamping. And I don't know if you can see the wisteria. So stamp that and line it. It might go off the page a little bit, but I'm trying to line the middle of them with the bits hanging down, like so. And then I'm going to come in with my Highland Heather. And this one is I'll show you, stamp it as best to see. Just stamp it in the middle, and then that adds a bit of colour to it. So I'm just doing it in the middle of each of them. And that one's not quite so dark. Maybe I'll go over it again, push it a little bit firmer. There we go. So that's kind of what 2-step stamping is, so you can get different colours. So it might be you have a flower, you've got your stem and things with 1 step, and then the flower is stamped in another, and then you've got the 2 steps. So that's kind of the gist of our image, nice and simple. I'm making thank you cards, always useful with orders. So this is the thank you from the Peaceful Moments. Happy birthday, thank you, lots of cool sentiments on this one, and it's a nice size. So that's my stamping, and then I will adhere it onto here. But if you want to blend, it's best to do it now before you adhere it to another piece. So blending brushes, I tend to have one brush for a particular, doesn't have to be only one colour, but for the purples, for the greens, that kind of thing. So I don't know if you like the green look or the fresh freesia. Maybe we'll do fresh freesia, but we'll make it a little bit darker this time. So tip number 1 is you can hold it like this. I tend to like sort of putting my finger on it and pushing down. Obviously, if it's just a very light touch, it's going to be very light. Push down more, it's going to be darker. But when you start off, you usually get quite a blob, and I don't want that blob on my card. So the best thing is to start off the page, circle motion, and then just round you go like this. And I'm pushing fairly lightly at the moment, blob off the paper like this. If I push harder, I don't know if you can hear the difference, pushing harder, then obviously I'm going to get more colour as well. Remember, start off the page. That's my biggest tip. Start off the page. And now I'm pushing quite hard. You can go over the whole thing, or you can go around the edges. But I really like the blending brushes. Start off the page. Push, circular motion. So this one is a lot darker than the other one that I did. I just want to show you a contrast. You can go over the whole thing or more around. I'm just going to lightly go in the middle. So if you compare that to that, this one actually looks white on camera, but it is actually pink if you look closely, but this one's definitely got more pink. Probably harder to see on video than in real life. Okay, so now we can basically put it together. So fairly quick, simple card, but I wanted to show you the cool set and also some blending brush tips, and I'll give you some more shortly as well once we've put our card together. So just framing that slightly, border around it, bringing out those greens. So these note cards are pre-scored, so I just got to do that, find my bone folder and crease it, then you get a nice crisp fold. And then we're going to glue that on the top. We don't have anything to wrap around it, so we don't need to do that first, which is good. All right. And, oops. Slightly, with glue, you can kind of adjust it slightly. Okay, so if we wish, we don't have to, we can add our bow, and then we can add our butterflies, which I love. So I've just got some of the baker's twine, or you can use linen thread or whatever, and I have previously tied a bow, and then I'm going to use a mini glue dot to put it on with. So try not to touch them as best you can. Either like put this on it to pick it up and then glue it or stick it. Whoops, need a bit more on the branch. Put it up a bit and then just adjust it. Trim the tails if you need to. There we go. So you can add, they're not quite even, so I will trim one side a bit more. There we go. And then I love these brushed brass butterflies. So they are adhesive underneath, but you just got to make sure you pick up the adhesive as well. So like that, just put them on where you like. There we go. All right. So nice and simple, but it is a very cool set, and some nice sayings there as well, and other things that you can do. With the blending brushes, so when you've finished, you can leave this and then just, keep it for this particular colour or some similar kind of purples and things. If you're changing the colour, then I'd probably try and, wipe off as much as I can. Although it's stained, it's not really coming off anymore, then you could use a slightly different sort of purpley colour. Or you can rinse them. So here are two that I had earlier that you can kind of see a little bit of staining. This one did have a bit of blue in it. And literally I just turned on the tap, ran it over just a cold tap, and you can see all the colouring come out. This was more of a pale papaya. Some of the ink is kind of stained in there a little bit, but it's a lot whiter than, when it is inked up kind of thing. The important thing to do is, I did this morning, so they're still a bit wet. You can't really wash them and use them straight away. You need to let them air dry and let them dry well. So that would be the only thing if you want to change colours. You can't kind of do it straight away. Finish your project when you're not going to use them anymore, then kind of wash them, or keep a particular colour for a brush. So you might have a green and then a reds and then a purples, that kind of thing. So they come in a pack of 3. And then you can get, more if you need to, but they're great for just adding a bit of colour. This is nice, but it is quite white, and if you don't like that white look, then you can add, a little bit of sponging or a lot of sponging, and make these cards. So there we are. So thank you for joining me today. Good afternoon, Joanne, and anyone else that is watching. Appreciate you watching, whether you're watching live or later or as a video. Fairly quick card, but I love the stamp set. I love what you can do with the blending brushes. So if you do have any questions, feel free to ask. If you don't have a demonstrator and you're interested in some product and things, please get in touch with me. So thank you for your time today, and I look forward to sharing something. Oh, actually, before I go, I've just remembered something. I was going to show you a couple of cards using the same stamp set that are a little bit more stepped up. So these are a couple of cards that I made at my class last month. So it's using the same stamp set, but obviously a little bit more involved in technique. These are in a plastic, that's why it's kind of glimmering a bit. So this one here, I've used multiple colours, and it's actually a technique called the baby white technique, which is what we did. And then I'll see if I can take it out. You may not see in the video, but it's actually slightly glistening because there was some clear embossing put over it as well. And then this part here would be what you'd put in the centre as well, kind of thing. So a few layers, a few extra things, but very nice. So I can't take the credit for this design. This was designed by my team leader for a training day that we did. And here is a very versatile way of using it. If you have your wisteria and you turn it up the other way, they kind of look like trees. And you can make them double layered trees with different tonings and things as well. So that's exactly what we did for this card. So this was the other card we did last month for my class. So we did a bit of masking with the circle and that kind of thing using the masking paper. And then we've stamped our trees in Granny Apple Green. So we've kind of stamped off the background so it's a bit lighter, and then gone over with our single one a bit darker. But because we turned them up the other way, it's no longer wisteria, we have some trees. So not sure if you saw that in the stamp set. Again, this is designed by my team leader, but a very cool card and a way that you can use the stamp in more than one way. So I'll finish there. So thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks. Enjoy your afternoon. Bye.